So are we actually going to do this? Yeah, we are. Let's go. If you have ever looked into your fridge and thought, what can I make with what I've got? Already here in the fridge, the freezer, the pantry, you already understand business strategy and customizing your business more than you realize. I am excited to dive into today's episode because today is going to be all about customizing your business and your profits. You don't need a boxed recipe, my friend. You need the right ingredients right now for you based off of so many little factors. And that is what I love doing. This is my favorite thing in the world to do with the women that I coach, the entrepreneurs that I work with, is to come in and say, hey, we want to make something amazing. Let's start with what you have and let's build from there. So, I'm going to just mention here, real quick from the start, what the problem is of not creating custom strategies. Why am I so passionate about customization and custom strategies? Well, it's because we have been taught and we're really sold that there's this one size fits all in business strategies. They're really, really preaching at us like, hey, you have to do this launch. Here's the blueprint. Here's a funnel. Here's the things that I have to do in order to build my business. You have to be on this. You have to do this. There's all kinds of things that are being thrown at us in our feeds. If you're an entrepreneur like me, you have, I guarantee, in your feed right now, dozens and dozens of people just telling you to do it their way and you will get their results. And I don't know about you, but I would spend a lot of money on those kinds of courses and blueprints and strategies and all those things. And it always feels like they fall flat and they don't really work or they don't feel good to me or they're not really sustainable. And really, when I was in the middle of my business, like serious business building growth back in, I would say 2016, I realized something that if I really wanted to build a business that I truly loved and gave me the profits that I really knew I could get, I had to stop trying to plug and play what worked for everyone else. I had to stop trying to mimic the recipe for business growth and strategy and success that worked for someone else who did not have the same ingredients as I did not have the same preference and flavors that I did not have the same resources, season that I was in, etc. So I'm going to break it down and give you an analogy here because I maybe haven't told you my background before, but I started out as a recipe developer in the online space. So I wrote recipes for bloggers and then I wrote recipes for brands. I did recipe development. I love, love, love cooking. If you ask me what my hobby is, I'm going to tell you it's cooking. So most weekends when I am unplugged from business, I am in the kitchen tinkering around, creating recipes. I love playing with flavors, all of that. So this analogy is right up my alley. And if you're a foodie like me, let's be friends and find someplace amazing to eat or let me cook for you. Our retreat is coming up here in September, and I am so excited to cook for the women coming to our Amplify Your Vision retreat. I do this every year. This is part of what we do. And I promise them every year, you're going to be happy with all the food. I promise. And no one complains. In fact, I have repeat clients coming back this year and they're like, so are you going to make that again? I always make this really good pumpkin gnocchi soup and oh, it's so good. All right, I am way off track here. Now let's get back to what we're going to be talking about on this episode. So, what does customization really mean? So, if we're going to use this example, when we go to the kitchen right now, first thing I want to do is look at what do I already have? What have I already got in my hand? So what's in my fridge? What's in my pantry? What's in the freezer? What is already in my world that I can pull from to use and build off of instead of going to the grocery store every single time I want to make dinner. That's a waste of effort and time and causes a lot of stress because now I have to figure out all these things. So If you can think about your own business, what do you already have at hand? What skills do you have? How can you leverage? Do you already have an audience on Instagram? Do you already have an audience on Pinterest? Do you already have, where are you already established and growing? And what do you already naturally have on hand that you can pull from? What are the things that you're really good at that we don't have to develop a skill for? Are you really good at communication, at storytelling, at creating community? I'm working with a client right now who is just so amazing at building community. So when she came to me with her business idea, I knew immediately we have to leverage the ability that she has with building her community and keep her focused on that because she's already got that on hand. She's already really skilled with that. Now we can leverage it for her business growth. So, starting with what you already have in the kitchen. What do you already have in your business? What do you already have accessible to you? Let's use that. And then the second part that we look at is what season are you in? It's really hard to source great produce when it's not in season. I mean, there's such a difference between a tomato you're picking directly from your backyard garden and or picking up from a farmer's market if you don't have a green thumb. Um, if you pick those out and put them in the recipe, you're going to get a very different flavor than the middle of winter from a hot house. Those really unflavorful. They're still good, but they're just not the same tomatoes, right? So if we can leverage what is in season for you right now, we're going to have such different impact. So, how does that work with our businesses? Especially for us as women entrepreneurs who are juggling many different things, many different hats, whether it's motherhood, family, your own autoimmune diseases, whatever it might be. Look at what season you're in. Am I in a season where I have little ones and I have very disrupted time? Okay, that's going to impact the strategy, the customization that I choose for how I'm going to take action because I cannot do it the same as if I had teenagers who are more self-sufficient, right? So just for my own journey over the last 15 years plus of being a business owner, how I work in my business now versus when I had little ones, very different. If I would have been beating myself up because I couldn't work the same way as I am right now in my business back then when I had little ones at home and they were all in school and they all couldn't self-entertain without causing a lot of chaos, then that would have been really exhausting and frustrating. In fact, I did that to myself. I tried adopting strategies that another coach was using and really great strategy for her in her season of not having little ones. It did not work for me. And I was so discouraged by that because I didn't know how to acknowledge, hey, this doesn't fit with the season that I'm in, with the lifestyle of accessibility and time. And that's okay. There was nothing wrong with me. It was wrong of me to try to push that strategy onto myself when it really wasn't going to work with the season I'm in. So ask yourself, does this fit with the season I'm in? And if it doesn't, either one, how can I boost up the flavor or change it or alter it? Or can I pull a seasonal ingredient from right now? How can I bring that into my space? Or can I just say, hey, this isn't going to work and I'm going to use something different? So maybe you're in that time of season where you do have the little ones. So you're going to break up your business into small 15-minute increments of action that can work for you. You really got to identify those profit priorities. You got to know exactly what you need to do and you build your business differently in that season. And then when the season changes for you, the kids go to school, you can go to the next season. And that is amazing. And that's what's so fun about getting to customize your business. The next one is spice. Oh my gosh, this one's fun. So, how spicy do you like things? There's nothing more controversial when it comes to cooking than levels of spice. Some people like things more salty, less salty, spicy as far as heat to no heat at all, please. We have people who like things extra sweet, some that don't like any sweetness at all. I mean, there's just everything in between. There's people that hate cilantro and people who love cilantro. So looking at even the spices that you use and saying, okay, what is the thing that I like, that I prefer, that is the spice in my business? And that's also letting out your uniqueness. How are you showing up? You're the flavor. You and your personality, your gifts, your uniqueness, your quirkiness, your stories. That's all of the spiciness that you can bring to your business. And so it's time to integrate that into the strategy. If I go and copy what worked for another business coach, but I don't integrate my own personality, my flavors, who I am, etc., I am not going to see the success that I want. And in fact, I'm going to attract the wrong people that don't align with me. I need to be unleashed with the flavor and uniqueness and spiciness of the Lani that I am. And so, how can you do that? I love getting in with my clients and saying, actually, that's your secret sauce. You should do that. One of our clients, she is really she's really fun. She's really, I love her spiciness. And when she limits herself and she gets real technical and starts to try to follow an outline and plan too much, she does not find the results of the engagement. But when she just hits press live and she starts talking about what is happening in her world and gets on her hobby horse and tells you like it is, man, the responses that she gets blow my mind because she's just not being too scripted. She's not overthinking. She's just letting her heart come out with her little quirks and spicy. That's the only way I can describe her. She's real spicy. And it's just resonates with people and it attracts people nonstop to her. So we need to make sure that every strategy we put into place for her business does not limit and overthink and squash that spice from her. So how are you maybe right now with the business strategy recipe that you have created for yourself? Is it limiting the spiciness of you? Right. And it's time to alter it so you can bring out those flavors because that's what spice does. Spice brings out flavors. And that's what you want in your business. And this is how you're going to stand out, especially in the online space and in this market where there's tons and tons of businesses and competitions for you. Most of us are in a high competition business. So that's how you're going to stand out. The next thing is allergies. Oh my gosh, this is something interesting always to think about. Going back to the retreat 2 years ago, I was putting together the menu for the retreat, and I always send out a form and ask them about allergies and food preferences, etc., because I want to make sure I'm mindful of that because I have food allergies myself. And there was a lot of food allergies there. I was like, okay, we've got to figure this out. So when you sit down in your business and in your business strategies, we also need to look at what are you quote unquote allergic to in your business? Meaning some people are very allergic to video and being live. They're like, that just feels like so much stress. I am an introvert. I am shy. I do not want to be in front of camera. I want to be behind the scenes. One of our newest clients in Empowered for More, when I first met her, she was so shy. And yes, you can start to show up more and more in a more powerful way. And I love how she's showing up for herself. But I'm not going to give her and pressure her into a strategy that is forcing her to be live and speaking in front of huge audiences because that would be so draining and cause her energy to just be super chaotic and stressed. She's literally going to be allergic to this strategy. So, have you adopted strategies that are misaligned, energetically draining for you and giving you this basically breakout in hives? Okay. So, if you are not tolerating the strategy well because it does not fit and it's giving you heartburn or whatever might be happening here, let's talk about other options. That is okay. A few years ago, I had a client reach out, new client reach out, and she said, Lani, I'm not going to be on Facebook, Instagram, or TikTok. So can you give me strategies that will get my business to six figures? Because I just can't handle social media. It is just not good for me. I'm very allergic to it. Literally, that's what she said. And I love that she knew that about herself. And so we dove in with strategies that did not rely on social media. We worked with SEO. We built out her podcast. We created email sequences and funnels and freebies. And we really focused on all of those tactics that did not need a social media presence. And we built her six-figure business. And so if you know that about yourself, like this doesn't align for me, this is not good for me. I'm allergic to it. Great. Tell your coach that. If we're going to work together, tell me that. As soon as you know, or maybe you have an allergic reaction that you did not expect, come to us and say, "Hey, this is making me feel this way. This is my reaction to it. Can we have a different approach? Because it's not, I don't want to put my body through this. I don't want to put my brain through this. I don't want to put my energy through it." And what happens was a lot of times when we have these reactions to strategy, we have to evaluate, is it just because it was new and I just feel nervous and I got to regulate, or is it because this is not aligned for me? And that's where I love getting to be able to coach through those questions and say, okay, if that didn't work, then what are we going to replace it with? If this didn't work, but we still want to do it, it was giving us this reaction. How can we realign it so we don't have that same reaction, so it feels more safe in our bodies, etc. And then the last thing is, what are you craving? This is probably how I cook the most is I think about what am I wanting right now? What am I really craving? And if you listen to last week's podcast episode, we talked a lot about our for-profit framework in Empowered for More in my coaching programs and my one-on-ones, how we build a business for profit, FOUR, four areas of profit: time, energy, income, and fulfillment. When I think about what I'm craving in my business right now, 90% of the time, I'm obviously going to crave more money. I want more money. So that's obvious. And I'm sure it's the same for you. But also, am I craving more time? Am I craving more energy? Am I craving more fulfillment in my business? And really saying, like, what does that look like for me? Right now, I'm definitely craving more time with my family. So I really want to be mindful of the strategies that I'm using that are going to be a lot of time and effort in my weekly schedule. So I have some harder cutoff times and I have less availability to go to the events that I was going to at the beginning of the year when football season wasn't in play. So now that football season's here for my family, that means a lot of activity in the evenings. So I'm going to be very, very picky about the events that I go to and commit to because that will take me away from what I'm craving. And that will cause me to not be happy with how I'm having to digest and like consume. I'm like, I don't want to show up here because this doesn't feel good. I want to be somewhere else. And if we're coming into our business strategy, feeling that feeling of like, this is not where I want to be. This is not what I want to do. I'm missing out. You gotta start getting that mom guilt or the exhaustion of like, I overbooked myself. I'm hearing too many things. That is not okay. And that is what will cause you to plateau in your business or not see the results that you want because you're not creating the strategy for what you are craving. You're just doing things because oh, somebody said I had to do it. I had to go to all these events. I had to be here. I had to do this. So how can we lean into those cravings that we are having for our business and for this season and for what we are experiencing right now? And in every coaching session that I work with my clients, we in some form bring this up. What does this customization need to look like? How does this work for you? You want to start an email list? Awesome. How do we make that happen? What do you want to do with the email? How much time would you want to be spending on it? Is this the right season to start this up, or do we need to wait till next month when you have these things out of the way? We're always coordinating. What does it look like for you? And it's different for each person that I coach. And that needs to happen. And that's really what is important for us as women entrepreneurs, especially that we be seen and heard and someone say and ask, like, if I can't answer those questions, or maybe I don't even know what questions to ask, this is what it looks like to get that support to say, someone asking you, how does this work for you? How do we make this happen? Okay, if we do this, because I know you, I've seen this be an obstacle before for you. How do we overcome it if you're going to integrate that strategy? Just talking to someone this last week, She was super excited to tell me she had an approval to bring in a new funnel, a new stream of income for the business that she is running. But I also know that that new opportunity was going to be a big chunk of time and effort and energy, which she loves and she can do, but she was already telling me she's maxed out. So we had to have a real honest conversation. Okay, how does that integrate into your maxed out time right now with this new product that you want to make? Because only you can make this product. You can't outsource it. It's got to be by you. So we had to have that conversation of what does she leave off of her plate? What does she rework her schedule? How does she make sure she's able to sustain this? Because it really is an exciting thing, but it can be a downfall if we don't talk about it first and we don't see how this will all coordinate together into that customization. So really making sure that when you are thinking about your for-profit framework for your business, how are you customizing it? How are you putting it together? The spiciness of you. How are you looking at the season that you're in and making sure the strategies you're choosing, because there's a ton of different ways to grow a business. How are you choosing a strategy that fits the season that you're in? How are you reacting to the things that you're reacting to in your business? So what are you allergic to? You feel like I'm allergic to all social media. I think a lot of people would say that first. But really, we can say, how can we make this more palatable? Or how can we make sure that we don't have this reaction anymore in the business and instead feel sustainable? And then also looking for that spiciness, customizing it, all of those things. So, how are you doing that for your time, for your income, for your energy, for the fulfillment that you want and you're craving for your business? How are we leaning for it? Because each client, each person, each woman I talk to, whether we brainstorm on a strategy call, and I'm going to tell you about something I'm offering for fun for the next few weeks that I want you to take advantage of. So hang on here for a second. But how are you taking advantage of that? How are you leaning into that alignment and creating something that feels good and produces the results like you wanted? Use your time like a chef. Don't waste energy on prepping something that you don't even want. Or maybe if if you and I were working together and I stepped into your proverbial kitchen and I saw, oh my gosh, if we just rearranged your workspace, your kitchen to be in this other flow, you would be able to do so much more in so much less time. This is something big that comes up a lot with systems and processes, which I know is not sexy. It's not what everybody, and people are like, yay, we're going to build a system today. Most people, okay, I have a couple clients who would like geek out about that. But most of us are like, nah, not what I want to do. I just would like to make the money and do the thing I love. Systems, no, no. But it's worth it to take the time to put that together because an efficient system is going to help you be even more creative and more growth and more scaling. It's just like when we moved into this house in 2016, I went from a very tiny kitchen. We called it a 2.5 butt kitchen because really, after you had 2.5 butts in there, it was way too crowded and somebody had to get out because you can open the fridge and the stove at the same time. It was like all kinds of maneuvering. So moving into this kitchen, I was like, oh, it's so big. I got so many opportunities. I can do anything I want to. And I just, put things wherever. And I also had family unpacking things with me, and they were choosing what cabinet and drawer to put things in. And after I started cooking in the kitchen for a few weeks, I realized this is like not in a good flow. Things where that should be accessible feel like I have to totally disrupt my flow of cooking and developing recipes and just I had camera equipment in there and I was tripping over cords and I realized, you know what? Instead of me being frustrated and having to like basically trip over everything and just take so much extra time, I stopped, I paused, I thought about it. Okay, how do I really make this more efficient? What is my flow? I'm standing here in by the stove. I'm at the island. I need to move this camera over here, and if I put the spices in this cabinet, they're more accessible. They're not behind where the camera is going to be standing. Also, this thing on the counter It doesn't look good in the background, so I'm going to move it over here. And I just kind of maneuvered things around to a better workflow. And suddenly my process at time spent in the kitchen doing all the photography and the videography and all the things I was doing was so much more efficient. And I got so much more done and it felt so much more better. I was less stressed. I knew exactly how much time it would take me to do things. And I was able to really knock things out fast and quick. Same thing with business. When you set up systems and processes and in your strategy, you see, oh man, I could do this flow so much differently. And then boom, 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 I'm done. And my time is back. And also my energy is better. And now I can create more results. So that's where that customization can really start to build and scale your business in all four areas of profit. So if you are ready to get really customized with your business, this is the perfect opportunity to jump in and think this way, to just shift your mindset to say, I want this outcome. I want to make some really delicious brown butter chocolate chip cookies that are gluten free with a little bit of sea salt on top. Maybe some espresso powder. That's what I'm craving. That's what I'm thinking. How am I going to make it? Okay, now I'm going to work backwards. So the same for you. Where do you want to be come Christmas, come January of 2026? Let's work backwards. What do you have on hand right now that's ready to go for that recipe? What does your season look like? What is the seasonal things that you have? Are the kids back to school and now you have more time and more capacity to work? Okay, perfect. Maybe nap time has changed and you need to readjust your schedule. Something's changed about that. And then what is your allergies? What has been all year long just not feeling good in your business? It's time to switch it up. It's time to stop being allergic to it in your business. Let's either eliminate it and stop letting it be a distraction, or let's change it to be palatable to you so you don't have a violent reaction to it. And then it's time to unleash the spice. And that spice is you. Have you been holding back? Have you been hiding? Have you been filtering out your personality because ChatGPT is doing all of the work for your for your content and it doesn't have your quirkiness and weirdness and insight and experiences. And I'm going to raise my hand. I've noticed that some of my content has been falling flat because I've just left out the spice, and that spice is me. So how can I bring that spiciness back? And so if you're the same way, you're like, okay, this is what I want. Now these are the things we're going to need to ask. And if you are like, all right, Lani, I'm getting what you're saying, and I want to create this amazing recipe, and I want to have this amazing result at the end of the year, but I still don't know how to get there. I still don't know, okay, how much of social media versus how many pitches versus my funnel and workshops and webinars. And we just start like going back down that crazy list. Okay, I hear you, and this is what I love to do. I want to give you a spice up your profit call. So if you are ready to get those four profits up for before the end of the year, and you have a specific goal in mind, you're going to fill out the call form. You're going to book a call, and we're going to get on a call and talk about how we can spice up your profits and help you create the most amazing, delicious, fantastic business that gives you just, it's so satisfying. So I'm going to link it below. So you go down below to the show notes, or you can go to lonniejackson.com forward slash spice call. And I know this is silly, but it's what I love. I love this. This is why we do it. We're personality here. And we're going to do a quick one-on-one business alignment call, business spice call, spice up your profits, and do all the things. And we're just going to chat about you and how you can create customized business. And I'm so excited about this. So there's limited capacity. Once I book, I don't know how many I could take. I'm going to be flexible with my schedule based off of what happens over the next few days. But this is ready for you to take action on. And if you're craving something big, let's do it. Let's make it happen. And let's leverage what you have in the pantry, what you already have on hand, your spiciness, your personality. Let's talk about your season. And let's also dive into what's not been feeling good and how we can rearrange your strategy to be in flow instead of giving you that allergic reaction. All right, my friend, thank you for joining to me today. And also, if you want to ever talk about food, you know who to contact, and I will gladly nerd out. So, Book that spice call. I'll talk to you soon. See you next week on another episode. Thanks again for joining. Thanks for actually joining us today. I hope it inspired you to actually take the action to step into the empowered CEO that you are and getting more of the results that you want. Before you go, I have a quick favor. Leave us a review and take a screenshot of this episode and share it with your friends and on your favorite social media channels. Don't forget to tag us, the podcast, and Lani J. Jackson. And we'll see you next week on another episode.